Good afternoon. My name is Susan Backham, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the first collaborated joint endorsement interviews for the endorsements of Veterans in Politics International, the Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus, Nevada Veterans Association, and the Armed Forces Chamber PAC. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Monzu Italian Oven and Bar, for hosting this event for us today, Stephanie Phillips, candidate for the United States Senate, and the anonymous donation on behalf of Jerry Willick. We're going to start out by having our panel members introduce themselves. Once they do that, then we'll come up to the candidates. You'll have a minute to introduce yourself, tell us why you're running, and then we'll get going with the questions. Jim's going to tell you how quickly time flies and what card goes up, and then when we cut you off. Okay, Jim?
Thank you, Jim Jonas, Director of Veterans of Politics. When the yellow goes up, you have 15 seconds to wrap up. When the red goes up, I need you to please stop. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Andre Haynes, founder and CEO of Armed Forces Chamber.
Patsy Brown, President of Armed Forces Chamber.
Hello, Kelly Charles, Executive Board Member of the Democratic Veterans and Military Family Caucus.
Rob Lauer, Veterans in Politics. Frank Friends, Veterans in Politics.
Tara Kellogg, here with the Democratic Party.
Good afternoon, Barbara Leuschen with Veterans in Politics.
Okay, so Nancy, we'll start with you. If you'd like to give a brief opening statement, not like one in court, but, quick and succinct.
You know what? You know me so well. I already asked for a rebuttal time after she speaks, but she said, this is not court. My name is Nancy Bernstein. I'm an attorney here in town for 17 years. I'm an immigrant from Cuba. I do want your yellow and red cards for later when I go home for my kids. I think that would be great, and I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. I'm sure you guys are going to have plenty of time to listen to me.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes.
No one's ever told me I needed a microphone, so thank you. I'm going to tell my husband you said that. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Amy Ferreira. I am running for Justice Court Department 8. I am exceptionally passionate about our community and about the law, and so I think this is the best way that I can serve. I currently serve the community as a hearing master with Las Vegas Justice Court. I was appointed in 2020, and I still serve in that capacity. I was Las Vegas Justice Court Employee of the Year in 2022. Prior to that, I was a Chief Deputy District Attorney at the Clark County District Attorney's Office. I was there for approximately 13 years. I was on the Special Victims Unit prosecuting cases regarding children ages 10 and under. I also started the first ever Animal Cruelty Unit at the District Attorney's Office, and I finished my career as the head of the Domestic Violence Unit. And I'll thank you all so much for having me today.
Thank you. Jim, you'll get to start again with the first question.
Okay, Jim Jonas, Director of Veterans in Politics. In the last election cycle, less than 5% of registered voters in the state of Nevada actually cast ballots for judges. If elected, what are you going to do to stay involved in the community and get more people to turn out to vote for judicial races?
And so, Nancy, we'll start with you.
Great question. This is a very important race this year. I've already been involved with Latin Chamber of Commerce, which is something that I'm very passionate about, and many other organizations. I've been involved in a 2000 United States Senate campaign, so I'm quite familiar with getting out the vote, who needs to vote, what it looks like. There's a lot that needs to happen, and I'm so excited, actually, about being in this race, mostly because I get to reach out and see people who want to be heard, don't know how to be heard. I'm currently at the Richard Harris Law Firm. I'm a partner there. And, there we go. And so we're doing a lot of outreach, and I think that all combined, we can all do this. We have to do this. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have told everybody who has asked me so far how my experience campaigning has been the same thing. I have told everybody that the best part so far has been being able to meet different people in our community that I wouldn't have otherwise met by going to different functions, becoming involved in different organizations. And at the end of the day, when everything is said and done, that will always be something that I'm grateful for, because I think it has caused me to make connections with people that I was forced to make as a result of this process. And I have met the most incredible people because of that. I also will tell everybody what I tell people in the community. The people who affect your everyday, bottom line, day-to-day living are at the bottom of your ballot. It's your local judges, it's school district, it's the people that you think probably aren't as important as the people at the top of your ballot, but those are the people that affect your everyday lives.
Commander Haynes.
Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber. This question is for both of you. Do you believe that a person's affiliation with a gang should be a significant factor in determining the severity of their sentence? And if so, how would you approach sentencing for a known or self-admitted gang member?
Yes, so certainly we have laws in place that allow for a certain gang enhancement affiliated with certain crimes. The legislature saw fit to enact that, and certainly as a judge, I would always follow that. When it comes to me running for justice court, sentencing somebody on a felony crime is something I will never ever do. That's left for district court. Do I think that there are reasons why the legislature made that decision to make that enhancement? I most certainly do. Will I follow the law under every circumstance, whether I agree with it or not? I absolutely will. That is the role of a judge, and I would never stray away from that under any circumstance.
I did start out at the DA's office, and I also have represented many civil clients that were hurt by gang members, whether it's shooting or otherwise. When I rode in a ride-along with the police, and I couldn't believe the gang fight that we were in. I was not expecting to have to see that. The gangs here in Las Vegas are really affecting everyone. I don't know the answer. All I know is there's a law that the legislature has enacted. That's all that I need to do. Other than that, I would like to see some difference in how we raise and help our kids, whether it's military. I have a lot of family in the military, by the way, which has helped, I know, some of my family members stay off the streets.
Patsy.
Patsy Brown, Armed Forces Chamber, and my question is for both of you. Open my phone. Okay. How would you engage with the veteran community to gather feedback and insights that can inform your decisions as Justice of the Peace?
Hi, Patsy. Good to meet you. I do have my cousin who is a Marine, and he's very involved. He's a crew chief or crew member next to the pilot for HMX-1. So he served many presidents, and he's very involved. So always, once Marine, always a Marine, he says. But I do hear from him and others in my family about veterans and what they need. I was really privileged to sit through with Judge Letitia, her veterans court that she started. And I don't think I might have cried all my eyelashes off, because it just to hear what everybody went through together, because there is a community in veterans. There is a community in military. There is something very special about what you guys all share that is different than just people that are getting in trouble, that you need to bond together. It's very important. So, okay, I'm sorry, James. I got it. Okay.
So I think sometimes more important than talking to people is listening to people. And I think that when you get out in the community and you engage with people that are involved in different groups, you start to learn the things, not only that are important to them in their day-to-day lives, but what's important to them when it comes to the justice system. And so I think listening to certain concerns is something that everybody who wants to run for any judicial position is obligated to do. I think that I have some personal experience with some of the issues that affect veterans. My father-in-law was a veteran. He has since passed. He passed in 2019. He was in the Air Force. He was an officer. He passed of what we believe to be a service-related injury. He had a rare form of Parkinson's. And so at the end, it was difficult to communicate with him. He lost his ability to walk and talk, but he would write. And down to the end, I always asked him what he thought about certain things, what his positions were. And so I think in a lot of ways, I'm sensitive to some of the issues specifically that affect veterans, not only when it comes to healthcare, but when it comes to mental health, substance abuse, housing, etc.
Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly Charles, Democratic Veterans and Military Family Caucus. So you've both touched on this a little bit, but my question will have you go more in depth. So we know that military families and veterans have unique needs, both socially, emotionally, healthcare-wise, and academically. So what approach will you take when presented with a veteran or a member of the military community in your courtroom?
So I think that approaching somebody with all the knowledge necessary to understand a certain situation is absolutely vital when it comes to being a judge. I think that in my work at the district attorney's office, I saw on both sides. I saw defendants who were veterans. I saw victims who were veterans. I saw witnesses who were veterans. And I think taking into consideration some of those triggers are exceptionally important. I know we kind of touched upon this Veterans Treatment Court that goes on. They had a graduation this past Wednesday, which I had the privilege of attending. And I think that there are certain programs that we have in place at Las Vegas Justice Court that can specifically deal with some of the individualized needs that many people in the veteran community deal with.
Kelly, I don't know where to begin other than to say, please, Jim, don't. I was appointed to the National Alliance for Mental Illness by Governor Gwynn. I'm very familiar with substance abuse. I'm very familiar with being an immigrant, and the reason why we're here, the Cubans, my family, is for freedom. We're here because of the veterans and because of the military. Honestly, this, touches me so hard because I don't want to see this country turn into anything other than what it is, which is a fight for freedom, right? And all that the Constitution stands for. So really, when I see the veterans, it means a lot more to me than just any kind of someone in a uniform.
On that. Sorry. Do it on purpose. Rob Lauer, Veterans in Politics. So I wanted to ask you guys if diversity, equity, inclusion has any effects on how you plan to govern your courtroom and approach litigants.
So Nancy, you start.
I love this question. I think that everyone is diverse, whatever color, whatever race, wherever, religion, right? That's what this country is made out of and from. However, there tends to be, I've seen, a need for more understanding of each other. No matter what we speak, what we look like, what color, where we come from. And though as a judge, it's not like I can sit here and lecture anybody on that, but it is really important that there are some laws, which I believe the legislature right now is made up of some good group of people that see things like this. and are making some differences. I think the whole country is looking at this and making some differences. So thank you.
I think when it comes to equity, diversion, and inclusion, it's exceptionally important that everybody who walks into a courtroom feels like they've been seen and they've been heard, regardless if they agreed with the decision that you made. And I think that even if somebody has a decision not go their way, if they felt like the judge listened to them, the judge didn't prejudge the situation, the judge was understanding, kind, compassionate, was patient with them, I think that goes a lot in terms of somebody's experience in the courtroom. It's really easy to walk into a courtroom, I have to imagine, as a minority and feel like you're not being listened to, you're not being heard. But if you have the opposite experience, I think there's that notion of being included, of being part of the justice system, whether it looks like you or it doesn't when you walk into that courtroom, knowing that you've been seen and heard, I think makes a big difference when it comes to your overall experience.
Frank.
Frank Friends, Veterans in Politics. A lot of this diversity, equity, inclusion stuff comes from people's background and what party they're affiliated with, and it leaks into their judgments that we've seen lately over litigation and other judges doing things they're not supposed to be doing from the bench. A couple cases, are in the news now. So you're not supposed to answer this, or you're supposed to run nonpartisan, but I'm asking you directly instead of ducking the question. What party do you affiliate closest to? Democrat, Independent, Green Party, Mises Caucus, or Republican?
So the only question that I'm permitted to answer is the question, what am I registered as? And so I'm going to assume that that was your question so that I can answer it. I am registered as a Democrat. My party affiliation and my registration has no bearing whatsoever on any decision that I make. One of the most dangerous things a judicial officer can do is to legislate from the bench. I mean, it's great if it goes your way, but if it does, then there's an equal number of times it's not going to go your way with a different person legislating from the bench. I always tell people when they ask me questions about political affiliation, if somebody punches you in the face, do you care what party they are registered with? Or are you just bothered that they punched you in the face? And so I think that politics in that regard has no place on the bench.
That's well said. However, your question is really straight up. I'm a registered Republican because we're Cuban. I'm Cuban. That's how it starts. However, I have no reason on the bench to deal with anybody in front of me as a red or a blue. No reason. That's not my job. That wouldn't be my job. I've had 100,000 cases I've represented in my career, whether it's injured workers, criminal, tickets, personal injury, every kind. So it's quite a large amount of people that I've sat with, spoken to, spent a lot of time with, and I will take that on the bench. I will definitely take that on the bench, all the facts. And the law. I mean, listen, that's what we have to do. There's some discretion, but it has to be fair.
Tara.
Hello, I'm Tara Kellogg from the Democratic Party. Can you provide an example from your legal expertise demonstrating your commitment to making fair and just decisions, particularly in cases involving vulnerable and marginalized individuals?
Oh, God. Okay. I have worked a lot, and we would discuss this, Susan, with I'm a cap attorney with the Southern Nevada Legal Aid. I've spent a lot of years representing children, not either side, not the district attorney, not the criminal defense attorney, whatever. It's the child. So it comes to that. It comes to I've been appointed by Judge Cicento as the MOP coordinator when he first started the Moderate Offenders Program. I've been involved with the Clark County as an attorney that was appointed for free. I've done a lot of pro bono. I've done a lot of free things. I'm in the privileged position where I can and I will and I want to. And that's something very special to me, that I feel like everybody is really deserves the best representation, no matter how much money they have. I actually am an artist. I have a $100 bill that I painted, and it says liberty and justice for some, and it's hanging in my office.
I feel like I've dedicated my entire criminal career to being a voice for the most vulnerable members of our community. When it comes to the crimes that I have prosecuted at the district attorney's office, I briefly touched on them. Children, ages 10 and under, that are victims of sexual assault. I have seen things and had conversations with children that nobody should ever have to have in their entire lifetime. I started the first ever animal cruelty unit at the district attorney's office because I saw that there was such a need for prosecution in that regard. I mean, there were cases that were going completely unprosecuted because we didn't have something in place to address that need. And anybody who knows anything about people who are violent offenders knows that they start with animals. And so to protect our community and to protect one of the most vulnerable members of our community, I started that particular program. I finished as the team chief of the domestic violence unit, another group of people who sometimes don't have a voice or can't use that voice. People who have a specific position and power need to speak for those that don't.
Hi, Barbara with Veterans in Politics. What are the most pressing community issues related to the courts and law enforcement? Barbara? Hi. Our crime rate. I have a 29-year-old daughter who lives in DC who's a lawyer, but I also have a 9-year-old here. So I span, a lot of, and I've been here my whole life. Grew up in Northtown when we got here. And the difference I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm not going to say my age, but I've been around. So I've been here a long time, which gives me a really good insight as to withholding judgment of others until I hear everything. However, I do see statistics. I'm thrilled to see how many officers are on the street. I want my 9-year-old son to be safe. I want to be safe with him. I'm a single mother, not playing when I'm out there with him. I don't want us to get in trouble. So the crime is just out of control. Thank you.
So I've always thought that we can do everything much better when we're united and we try to do it together. And I think that lately in society and as a culture, we've become so divided. And so it's this, you either are for law enforcement or you're not. There's this divide. And I won't say that the media has led to that issue, but the media, I think, has led to that issue. When maybe instead of focusing on the things that drive us apart, we should focus on the things that bring us together. And I think the second you find some common ground, you can do some amazing things to help the community. The crime in the community has skyrocketed in certain areas in a way that's very concerning. And at the same time, you have certain individuals who think that police are the enemy. And it's like, how did we get there? Why can't we find this commonality where we all want to live in a safe and beautiful place to have our families? And why don't we work together to try to achieve that?
So I think we have time probably for 2 more questions. So I'm going to go back to the front row of panelists. Is there a burning question that anybody has? And if not, I think we're going to default to Kelly, because she didn't have to go through all of this all morning like the rest of us did. I put her on the spot twice in a row now.
Okay, so then I think it's one topic that hasn't been touched on a lot, maybe just a little bit. But if you'll share with the panel what you know about Veterans Treatment Court and your stance on it, and if you feel like we need to improve it, and then how we can go about doing that.
So So I'll say what I always say, there's always room for improvement. No matter how wonderful, great, amazing something is, there's always ways to make it even better. I think the Veterans Treatment Program Court is exceptional. I think that Harmony does an exceptional job. I think the services that they offer are great. Do I think we could do even more? I do. Do I think we will do even more? I certainly do. I also think that a lot of people, when they hear Veterans Treatment Court, Veterans Treatment Programs, they think about veterans. Yeah, it's great that we're helping veterans, but what a lot of people overlook is the fact that we're helping the entire community. If you solve a problem with one person and you deal with the issues that caused someone to commit a crime, they're never going to commit that crime again. And look, we're all going to be happy. And so I think the Veterans Treatment Program is not only good for veterans, but it's good for all of us.
Hello, Kelly. We need a larger veterans court. I know that there's limited amount of defendants or people involved in there now. The same as Judge Wood, who just started the mental illness court with only 50. So it definitely can grow. Judge Letitia has done a remarkable job. She has the right amount of, giving them some time, giving them resource, but also holding them accountable. And I think that's very important. It's there's such a camaraderie. I sat through a whole court of when Judge Letitia gave out the awards, and I heard the families and how it changed everybody. And certainly, this is something that needs to be happening on a larger scale, especially with the veterans. And I believe that this has to grow.
Okay, from our second row of panelists, one final question. Does somebody have one? No? Everybody's shaking their head? No. Tara? No? Okay. All right. So that's great. So I'm going to we have about a minute and a half for each of you to tell me why you are the best candidate for Las Vegas Justice of the Peace, Township, Department 8. Nancy, we'll start with you.
Oh, thank you. More than what I think why I want to do it is I know there's the need from everyone I've spoken to, all my clients along the years, of someone who understands. I am an immigrant. My stepfather is a cowboy from Montana. I grew up with horses. I raise horses. I train horses. I know we have similar interests in animals. Currently ride quite often with a district court judge right now. And we have a good old time. I used to be a barrel racer. So people really look at me and they don't know I go to St. Christopher's. I go to, there's a lot to me. It's funny because people always say, you're not what you look like or what you seem. So being on the bench to me means I get to be all the things I've grown into after many, 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 many years. I said my daughter, who's 29, is a lawyer, so that gives you a little bit of an idea how old I am. So I've had such a privilege to be in this town and meet so many people and travel and just around the whole state. When my ex-husband ran for Senate, we just went everywhere. It was my favorite thing. Ed Bernstein, you're looking at me puzzled. That's where I get the last name from. So we did this campaign when he ran for Senate, but I was the wife. But we worked really, really hard together. As Patsy is laughing, the wife is, the one who gets it going. But no, I get one.
Thank you. And so now, Amy.
So when I was 4 years old, I told everybody in my family I was going to be a judge. So all the other little girls in preschool said they were going to be a Disney princess. And so I hope that in November I call them and say, hey, guess what? I'm a judge. Are you a Disney princess? I think I'm the best person for this job because I have experience that's unmatched. I have been doing what a Justice of the Peace does for the past 4 years as a hearing master. The justices of the peace decide which of their roles they don't particularly want to do, and they give them to the hearing masters. And so with me, there's no risk, right? I have a proven track record of doing the job of a justice of the peace. I have always believed that our courts should work for the people that they represent, not against them. And I think we have some situations where the court system has made things incredibly difficult for people when they don't need to be. And I think that with somebody such as myself on the bench, with my personality, with my experience, with my education, I think that we can do great things for the community. At the end of the day, I'm a mom. I have a daughter, she's 4 years old. I have a husband in law enforcement, and I have a rescue farm full of animals that nobody else wanted. So I'm really just a regular member of the community. And I think that with me in that position, we can have a change that's probably much needed in our community.
Thank you. So I would like to thank you guys for coming out today again, Nancy Bernstein and Amy Ferreira, all of our panel members. You guys have done an amazing job so far. We've got one more group to get through. Woohoo. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Monzu Italian Oven and Bar, Stephanie Phillips, candidate for the United States Senate, and the anonymous donation on behalf of Jerry Willock, the Nevada Veterans Association, Armed Forces Chamber PAC, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus, and of course, Veterans in Politics International. Thank you all so much for being here.